WWE Wrestlemania is fast approaching this weekend, and while I personally won't be able to watch it live, I figure I will give you my predictions for both nights. Today, we are going to be predicting Night 2. I predicted Night 1 a couple of days ago. Go and watch that after this video is over. So we're going to be going through the 6 matches on the card, one less than the day prior, and I would like to advise you, my back is kind of hurting right now, so I might be leaning one way or the other. Probably this way because it's more comfortable that way, just in case you had a question, which none of you ever would have because you wouldn't have noticed it. But now that I've mentioned it, you will very obviously notice it, unfortunately. C'est la vie. We will get started with the non-title matches on the show, work our way up to the tag team, mid-card, and eventually the main event matchups. We're going to get started with Logan Paul versus AJ Styles. This is an interesting match because you have Logan Paul. Logan Paul, very, very talented, very well-known, very popular. Hasn't really been winning a lot lately. He had his U.S. title run a while ago, but ever since, just kind of been there. That was SummerSlam 2024. His last win, I think, was the SmackDown before that, and I think he might have had one on Royal Rumble era territory, but I don't think he's really had that many major wins. He hasn't won much. But at the same time, you have AJ Styles, who's in a very similar boat. He has not won all that much. He's also very well known, obviously not outside of the WWE community or wrestling community, period. But he's a very well respected, performer. He's been around for a while, had some legendary matches in TNA, WWE, everywhere. So you have, as I mentioned in my first video, this situation that runs kind of rampant throughout this entire show, where there's a talented older star facing a younger star who's not necessarily just trying to prove themselves, but trying to plant their place as a main talent. That's what this match is again. So as I said, run very rampant throughout this show. I personally think Logan Paul is going to end up winning. AJ probably should, but knowing Logan Paul, I have a good feeling that he's going to end up winning this match, even with the stuff on Raw. I think that's going to be I think Karrion Kross is going to cause AJ to lose unintentionally. Because I think Karrion Kross, his thing has been I'm the evil mastermind behind all these things. And he's always been right. He's always been right. But he gets one wrong or he doesn't do what it's him making them do. And I think he'll be surprised and whoa, what now? And then you can do Paul and Kross, which I think would be a very fun sequence. You have a very uber athletic Logan and a dominant Kross who has become way better lately. And I think you have some potential there. Nevertheless, I expect Logan Paul to win this match. Although I would not be surprised if AJ won to continue that Kross storyline. We move on to the only other non-title match on this show with Drew McIntyre facing off against Damian Priest. This is an odd match. It's not the same as the previously mentioned thing where I was talent trying to prove themselves. But it's you have McIntyre, very proven. You have Damian, also pretty proven. Not as much so. He's only a one-time world champion and all. But I would say he's still he has his place on the roster. He can be at the top of the mid-card or the bottom of the main event scene. He's always right in that area. But I feel Drew is kind of playing down to his opponent here. And I'm not trying to say that's a bad thing about Damian. It's just that Damian is not a guy who is... You wouldn't see Damian Priest versus some of the people Drew's been facing. You wouldn't see Damian Priest versus CM Punk. I don't think that level of talent clicks. Drew, on the other hand, he can face CM Punk. They had a great series of matches. You wouldn't see, Damian and Seth. And I don't think we had that match. We had it at Money in the Bank, and it was a terrible match because Seth had to play down, and then there was the botched kick out. I know Chris Jericho doesn't like that word, but that's what I'm going to use. Point being, I think Drew's going to be playing down here. I do still think he's going to end up getting the win. Sorry, let me put that over here. Anyways, I do think Drew's going to be ending up getting the win here. But where they both go is going to be a big question because Damian can go somewhere. There's no real good spot for him to fit in. The Judgment Day storyline is very separated from him now. He's just his own entity. He's not really a thing with Rhea anymore. They were a tandem for a little bit, then they stopped kind of doing anything with each other. It's really odd the spot that he's in. We'll see where he goes from here, but I personally think Drew's going to end up picking up the win and getting another Mania victory. We move on to the first title match on the show with Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez defending their tag team titles against Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. This match was probably the match on this show that was the easiest for me to predict because double champions are very rare now. Like, you almost never see someone who's a 2-champ holder other than NXT. And even then, they barely hold it for any amount of time. So Liv and Raquel should win this match pretty easily here. Lyra's already IC champ. She is great, but she doesn't need it right now. Liv Morgan has been, as much as people like to hate on her, one of the best parts of WWE weekly TV for ages now. Like, if you look at some of the best weekly TV matches we've seen, Liv Morgan runs rampant through most of them. And maybe not necessarily because of her, but there's two halves to a whole. She's got to be there anyways. It's not like you have the best match in the world with one person wrestling a ghost. You can't see anything, so what's going to happen there, right? So I think them winning is inevitable here. Now, I'm not going to say it's like a negative, but it's kind of annoying, will mean that Raquel Rodriguez will get a win. And I don't hate Raquel Rodriguez. I just think talent-wise, she is not as impressive as the other three people in this match. So it's like, I'm trying to figure out a good way to phrase this. Imagine you have 4 football teams, right? You have the Chiefs, the best team, or actually the Eagles this year. So the Eagles. Then you have the Chiefs, you have the Bills, and you have the Ravens. We're going to use that as an example. That's like teaming the Eagles and Ravens against the Chiefs and Bills. You have the 4th best one here, even though they're not particularly good because the Ravens can't win in the playoffs. That's a whole argument entirely. But those two against these two. And these two are going to win, but at the same time, it's like, man, kind of sucks for the other two people who are losing in this situation. So it's a very odd predicament. That was probably a pretty poor comparison. You get my point. Raquel Rodriguez is not as good as the other people in this match, but she is going to win anyways. We move on to the other mid-card title match on this show because the women's tag belts are basically just the mid-card belts now, where we have Braun Breaker defending his IC title against Penta, Finn Balor, and Dominic Mysterio. This is a very interesting match and probably the most fun to predict because you have 4 options because there's 4 people in the match. Some of them make more sense than others. You have Braun, Braun Breaker, very, very proven at this point. I feel like he's been champ for a while. I don't think you can say that he's been a bad champion or he's been like anything poor. He's been a great champ. He's had an off match here and there, but everybody does. Whatever. So Braun winning sounds good. You have Finn Balor. He's been angry lately. He's been in a very sour mood. So you're like, oh, you can see like a good heel Balor run with the IC belt. Cool. You have Dominic Mysterio. Oh, he's going to be snivelly and he's going to sneak a win out and be a conniving champion. Cool. You have Penta, a relatively new arrival who's going to win a title very early on at WrestleMania, his first time. Sounds great, and he's a great wrestler and promo worker. Sounds good. All 4 options are good options. I personally am going with Dominic Mysterio to win this match out of the 4 of them. However, any of them winning can go into so many good situations. I'm going to pick Dom for one main reason. Dominic has not had any major title reigns yet. He was a tag team champion when he was boring. He was a North American champion a couple times, but A, it's NXT, and B, the reigns weren't particularly substantial, especially with it being, beating Trick Williams in that really stupid match a couple years back. But he hasn't really had a big, long reign or with a notable belt, right? And I think him winning also leads to a lot more because you can go from that to be, him facing off against super strong, powerful competition and sneaking a win out. You can see him going against people like Penta and having like a luchador fest, some technical work in there, some high flying stuff. And he's a champ that can blend with all of them. And I think that's why he's going to end up winning in my little world here. We move on to the main event matchups with the world titles on the line. Firstly, with Io Sky defending her title against Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair. Now, I remember about 4 minutes ago, I said that Liv and Raquel was the easiest match to predict on this show. I refute what I just said because this was, in fact, the easiest match to predict on the show. Bianca Belair is winning this match because she's undefeated at Mania. Listen, it is very obvious that they are trying to do another version of the streak. And this version is different, where in the streak was like ominous and looming over everything at Mania. This is just something that's going on for Bianca Belair. She's always, happy, doing her little twirl thing. She's like in a good mood, just, okay, guys, I'm going to win at Mania. No one really it's not brought up as much, definitely. And obviously it's because it's a shorter streak, but you get my point. And it's just kind of there. And I think once she gets to like 10, then it's going to be like, whoa, Bianca, she's never lost before. That's really cool, blah, 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 blah. And I don't see that coming to an end soon. I do not predict Bianca Belair losing that streak quickly. Now, I would expect that she's going to get to about 13 or 14-0 before it starts to get like, ooh, maybe she'll lose. I don't think she's going to come close to Taker because I know they want to do a female version that's like equivalent. And I understand that, inclusivity is great. And how they spin that, perfectly fine. But I think Taker's streak is untouchable here. So I think leaving that by itself and creating like a new streak, like a new really cool thing that you do just for the women, I think that would be a more important thing to do. Now, what that would be, I don't know. Like 3 Rumbles in a row for one person, maybe. I don't know. Would that be a little boring? Yes. But I'm just spitballing ideas off the top of my head here. You get my point. Bianca Belair to win. Honestly, Rhea Ripley, maybe. Io Sky has absolutely no chance of winning, as much as she's probably one of the better technical performers in this match. C'est la vie. Also, that reminds me. In my last video, I made a comment about Seth Rollins and CM Punk and Roman Reigns and how I said Seth Rollins is going to win that match. Go watch that if you haven't. And my football coach, said that was a bad take because I was wearing a Seth shirt and Punk shorts to lifting this morning. And he said, I'm wearing 2 losers. Heck no. If anything, I'm wearing 2 winners because one of them's not going to get pinned and the other one's going to win. So my case is closed here. I'm just wearing 2 winners. That's what it is. Nevertheless, we move on to the final match on the show. Cody Rhodes defending his undisputed WWE Championship against John Cena. Now, there is a lot of talk about who is going to win this match and why. And a lot of that leans towards Cena winning. Like, John Cena, he has been around forever. He is probably his last year. Actually, it is his last year, excuse me. He has a heel run now. He needs this title. And then there's also people like, no, Cody beating Cena will fully solidify him. Cena, will probably shake Cody's hand. We'll have a good agreement. That was not part of my point. I just needed to sneeze. Sorry. And thank you if you said bless you. To those who say that Cody should win, you are wrong. Because John Cena, far and away, should win this match. Now, in kayfabe, obviously, go Cody, he's the good guy, whatever. But the story possibilities of Rock, Cena with the title, Travis Scott, I guess, and then whoever probably ends up joining that group, because there's probably going to be at least one more person. There's so much potential there, and there's so many things you can do. Like Backlash is in St. Louis, and like everybody is, every piece of thing they're showing about it, piece of media they're showing about Backlash has Randy Orton in it because it's in St. Louis. John Cena, Randy Orton. Now, will they have the most boring match of all time? Yes. However, it will also be cool because it's probably going to be the last time ever. Then, Money in the Bank is coming up. What currently employed wrestler could John Cena face at Money in the Bank that is historically relevant? I know. CM Punk. You have so many layups easy points to take here. You're getting as many points as Jimmy Butler scored last night beating the Grizzlies, because that is so many good options that you can do here. So Cena winning is, in my mind, inevitable, and I think exactly what should happen here. So those are my predictions. I'll run through them once more for you. I have Logan Paul defeating AJ Styles, Drew McIntyre beating Damian Priest, Liv and Raquel beating Bayley and Lyra, Dominic beating Braun, Finn, and Penta, John Cena defeating Cody Rhodes, and Bianca Belair beating Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. So, do you agree? Do you disagree? Make sure to let me know. None of them comments down below. As I said, please watch the former video I made on night one. That one's very fun as well. And today, I leave you with 2017 Holiday Rookie Edition, Alex Bregman. Quote, each of the first 2 picks of the 2015 MLB draft were in the majors just one season later. Atlanta's Dansby Swanson and Alex. Great competitor, understands the game, top-notch guy, the former said of the latter. Most of all, Bregman can hit. Last August and September, he went on a 30-game tear for the Astros, in which he batted .323 with 7 homers. So everybody, have a good all the things I said before, because I'm not saying them again.